Now for our story. Aunt Mary Lane sat in the little pickup truck in front of the Wakefield Public Library waiting for her niece Peggy. It was pleasant sitting in the sun, but as she looked across to the square where some children were playing on the grass, Aunt Mary's thoughts were troubled.
It's strange. That letter Angus received from someone about Bill's case. I wonder who sent it. Who it was Angus saw. Those insinuations about Kit might have some basis. But just the same, I understand why Bill dislikes the idea of using them as evidence. Even though he's so anxious to get custody of his son, to have to make statements like that about the baby's mother, about Kit, it goes against his grain. When he asked my advice, it was difficult to tell him just how I felt. I didn't want to influence him one way or the other. And yet, I felt the same way he did. I hope I didn't advise him wrongly, though. I wanted to be impartial, not to think of Peggy's happiness in connection with it at all. Regardless of how Bill feels about Peggy, even knowing the child stands between them, he had to do what was right from his standpoint. And besides, it may not be true about Paul Cromwell and Kit in California. One can't be sure. There might be something we don't know. It isn't fair to jump...
Good morning, Mary.
Oh, Ben. Well, how do you do?
I'm afraid I startled you.
Well, that's all right. I was just, thinking.
Yes, I'll wait till you were. I have an idea. I know what you're thinking, too.
Have you, Ben?
I've been intending to call you, Mary. Wanted to have a little talk with you.
Really? What did you want to talk about?
Several things.
Well, I should think this is as good a time as any. Peggy's inside picking out some books.
Mary, when are you going to learn not to mix up in other people's lives?
I'm afraid, Ben, I don't quite know what you mean.
I think you do. You're always giving advice. Telling people what to do.
Occasionally I do. When they ask me.
Well, if people can't solve their own problems without running to you...
Everyone has to solve his own problems for himself, Ben. But if they ask my advice...
All right. It's not my business to butt in, except where my own family and I are affected. But when you begin mixing up in my affairs, I think I have a right to object. And I do object, Mary. Most emphatically.
I see that you...
I don't need to tell you what I'm referring to, either. I'm talking about this mix-up between Bill Meade and Kit. That fine ex-son-in-law of mine hasn't the sense to make the decisions he's made. I've detected your fine Italian hand in it all along, Mary.
Have you?
Now, you listen here. If you're really a friend of that young fool, Bill Meade, you'll advise him to give up this insane notion of his, trying to get custody of that grandson of mine. He'll only make himself a lot of trouble if he persists.
You seem to forget, Ben, that the baby isn't only your grandson. He's Bill's son. As to my having anything to do with his decision, I'll confess he discussed it with me. But you're wrong if you believe I tried to influence him.
Nonsense. I know very well he wouldn't dream up such a scheme on his own. After we won the case, Kit was awarded custody. Now, that day in court, it was perfectly clear even Angus McKillop realized they hadn't a thing on their side.
Perhaps he did feel that way at the time. Sometimes the picture changes.
What's there to change? Nothing's happened.
Then, if you want to know what's going on, you've come to the wrong person. I couldn't give you any information. Why don't you see Bill's attorney? See Angus and have a talk with him. If anyone knows, he does.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'll see that red-headed Ichabod Crane and have it out with him once and for all. If he thinks he can make a fool out of me, he's got another thing coming. McKillop, I want to have a talk with you.
Ben Calvert, bless my soul. Sit down, Ben. I've been expecting you.
What do you mean you've been expecting me? I just decided to come up 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, maybe so. But I looked for you in the next few days. I knew you'd come storming up with blood in your eye. Here you are, as big as life. Sit down.
Now, you look here, McKillop.
Hey, looking, Ben Calvert. I can't say it's a pretty sight. You look like a man who's spotted the Loch Ness Monster personally, and you can't find anyone who'll believe you. Hey, simmer down, man. Mind your blood pressure.
I'm not excited. You know why I've come here, McKillop. I'm sick and tired of all this meddling, this prying into my affairs. It's got to stop.
And how do you propose to stop it, pray tell? If you're talking about your ex-son-in-law, and I believe you are...
You know very well I am.
All right, man, all right. But you're smart enough to know you're barking up the wrong tree.
You're Bill's attorney, aren't you?
Exactly. Now, you're a powerful man in this town, Ben Calvert, I grant you that. But you're not all-powerful. You can't stop a lad from hiring himself an attorney.
No, I can't. But I can tell any fool who takes over such a case that it's a waste of his time.
Well, now, Ben Calvert, that's a question.
But it's plain as day. You haven't a hope of winning the case. You ought to know that.
If you're so sure we'll lose, what brings you up here? Bursting in like a man with his coattails on fire.
I'll tell you what brings me here. I want peace in my family. That daughter of mine's been through as much as she can stand. She's got her divorce. My grandson's in my home, and we can all settle down. That is, we could settle down. But between you and Bill Meade and Mary Lane, you're determined to stir up trouble. It's senseless. That's what makes me boil. You haven't a leg to stand on.
No. You're letting yourself get all hot under the collar again.
All right. But I can't for the life of me see why you took the case in the first place. I've never liked you, McKillop.
The feeling's mutual, you know.
But I thought you at least had the sense you were born with.
And just a mite more, possibly, I've been... Yeah, I'll tell you. It's true, I was somewhat doubtful about the outcome when I took over the case, but I did it for the lad's sake. Because, you see, we differ in our opinions regarding your daughter's ex-husband. I'm fond of the lad.
You don't know him like I do.
But the truth is, the longer I work on it, the more I look into matters, the more interested I've become. There are several developments in the case which might surprise you.
Developments? Why, you're bluffing.
Well and good. That's what you think. But I'll tell you something else. If your purpose in coming here today was to scare me off and talk me out of handling the lad's case, why, you failed. Why, by the Lord Harry, the longer I talk to you, the more I itch to get at it.
Well, if you do, you're making the mistake of your life. And don't come around later and tell me that you're...
I'll tell you nothing, Ben Calvert. Now or later. Except that you're wasting your breath.
All right, then. I've warned you.
Very generous it was of you, too, I'm sure. I know you did it only out of the great goodness of your heart. It's a pity I can't pin a medal on you for your good works. Instead, I'll reward you with a bit of information. Regarding your son-in-law's suit for custody of his son, it might be well for you to prepare yourself for some action. It'd be wise to round up that smooth lawyer of yours from Chicago and his fine hand-painted cravats. Because, my fine bucko, the petition to reopen the case will be filed today.
Aunt Mary did a very wise thing today, sending Ben Calvert to see Bill's attorney. Nothing was more certain to bring out the fighter in Angus McKillop than a challenge like this from a man he heartily distrusted. Yes, Aunt Mary, your faith in Angus is more than justified. The inevitable clash between the two men has given the red-headed Scotsman just the drive he needed as Bill Meade's suit for custody of his baby son begins. Now for our story. Lefty Larkin took out his watch, glanced at it, and restored it to his pocket. Aunt Mary, who sat in her favorite old rocking chair beside him on the porch at the Lane farmhouse, smiled affectionately.
7:15 on the dot. Are you listening? You know, I'm never sure whether you're checking the train or your watch.
It's a little of both, I guess. And I might add, they're both amazingly accurate.
Well, that's good.
You know, Aunt Mary, I wouldn't trade these little sessions of ours out here on the porch for all the tea in China.
I love them too, Lefty. Sometimes when I get a little disturbed in my mind, upset, everything smooths out after a while. Just sitting here peacefully, talking things over.
Mm-hmm. There's something about this time of day.
Speaking of being disturbed, Ben Calvert stopped to talk to me while I was waiting for Peggy in front of the library.
What did he have to say?
The main thing seemed to be he wanted me to, to stop interfering in his business, was the way Ben put it.
What do you mean by that? You don't interfere in anybody's business.
He was referring to Bill Meade. I have had several little talks with Bill, you know.
Yeah. And whatever I may think about Bill, I know you do what you believe should, regardless.
I have to, Lefty. Anyway, that was on Ben's mind. He insisted I'd been talking Bill into reopening the case, trying to get custody of that son of his.
But you haven't, have you?
Why, no. That's been Bill's own idea entirely. The fact that I agree with him doesn't change it.
Of course not. Well, what'd Ben say when you pointed that out?
You know how Ben is. He gets so irritable when people disagree with him. Finally, I told him he ought to go up to Angus McKillop himself. I said Bill's attorney was certainly in a position to answer any questions Ben might have on his mind. And he ought to go straight to the source.
You knew what you were doing when you made that suggestion. Ben and Angus. And what happened? Did he take you up on it?
He said he intended to.
Well, I hope he did. Angus will certainly put a few spokes in Ben's wheel. And Ben would probably make Angus so blazing mad he'd be bound to win the case. Of course, I know darn well that's what you had in mind when you sent Ben up there.
Well, anyway, Ben went dashing across the square in a great hurry, headed in that general direction. So I presume that's where he wound up.
I'd like to have listened in on that session of theirs. Now I bet it was a corker.
Yes. I imagine Angus more than held his own.
Well, I've put in my 2 cents worth more than once on the subject of Bill Meade. But this is one time I'm on his side. I mean when it comes to a choice between Ben Calvert and Bill. And for my money, there's no question.
I'm happy you feel that way, Lefty. It's pretty much my own attitude. Not that I wish Ben any harm. But right is right and wrong is wrong.
Yep.
Well, I guess Lily ought to be arriving pretty soon. I rather expected a call today.
Funny. I still can't make the connection. A girl like Lily Devon being willing to move to a quiet little place like Wakefield.
Well, Lefty, you never know. Maybe this is what Lily's always wanted. Maybe it just happened her life went a different way. And then when she saw the opportunity to make the change, she decided...
Could be, but it's hard to get used to the idea. I'm sorry Randy got so steamed up about it the other night, though. I didn't want to hurt his feelings. I was surprised he took what I said about her so much to heart.
Well, you know how Randy is. So loyal where his friends are concerned.
Sure, but that's what's so funny about it. Lily's no friend of his. Why, he only met her that weekend. They only talked a couple of times.
Sometimes people can become friends just after one talk. Perhaps that's what happened.
Maybe so.
Lefty, I have a feeling you don't feel much like talking tonight. Something on your mind?
Mm-hmm. I might as well admit it. I've been thinking about Dell quite a lot since she was down here.
Have you, Lefty?
She came to see me one night, you know. Drove over from the hotel rather late.
Yes, I know. Dell told me.
Oh?
You don't mind, do you?
No, of course not, Aunt Mary. No secret about it. But it started me to thinking. I'm a funny guy, I guess. A lot of men don't mind hurting a woman who loves them. In fact, I think some men rather enjoy it. Puffs up their self-importance somehow. But I've never been like that.
I'm sure you haven't.
The way I've always looked at it, if you've ever been in love yourself, you know what it's like. You know how tough it can be for the person who's in the middle of it. So you try to protect them from being hurt any more than they have to be.
Well, that's the way it should be.
And that's the way I feel about Dell. I don't want to hurt her, Aunt Mary. Really, I don't. Dell's got a lot of fine qualities. I've never said she hadn't. In many ways, I've got a lot of respect for her.
I certainly have.
But when I found out she was coming down here, well, I know I sort of blew my top. And one reason was I began to foresee what would happen. I was pretty sure it'd make her more miserable, bring everything back. And yet you can't change your feelings about a person just by trying. It won't work.
No. But sometimes our feelings change without our really being conscious of it.
Maybe so sometimes. But as far as Dell and I are concerned, it's just no go. There's some things I've never told you, Aunt Mary. I couldn't. Something that happened in Chicago. It made a big difference to me in the way I felt about Dell. And no matter how I try, I just can't forget it. I could never trust Dell again.
You say that, Lefty, remembering how Dell was going to break a promise to you. A promise which concerned Peggy Douglas, your daughter. But I wonder what you'd say if you knew Dell's thoughts tonight as she paces restlessly up and down her apartment in Chicago.
I can't get Lefty out of my mind. I keep thinking of him. Of Wakefield. Peggy's wedding. I know she oughtn't to marry that guy. It'll only make her unhappy. She's in love with Bill, and it's that baby who's keeping Peggy and Bill apart. Lisa's baby. I know Lefty's in favor of Peggy's marrying Nicholas, but that's because he doesn't realize. He doesn't understand what it means. If he realized how unhappy it's bound to make her, she means so much to him. Oh, if only he'd believe me. Believe that I want to help Peggy. Well, he won't listen. There's only one solution. Lisa's got to go down there and make a clean breast of the whole thing. But I wonder if she will. She's afraid to claim that child as her own. Afraid Lance would never forgive her. But it's the only way. It's a chance she has to take. And yet I can't force her. I gave her my solemn promise I'd keep her story a secret. I can't break that promise. I can't. Oh, it's all so twisted. If I hadn't thought of breaking a promise to Lefty once, we'd be together, happy, right this minute. Now it's a question of keeping another promise. The happiness of Lefty's own daughter is at stake, and my hands are tied. Unless I can persuade Lisa to set things straight. Oh, Lefty, I wonder if I can.
Yes, Dell, you wonder if you can persuade Lisa Fenner to give up her own chance for happiness, a reunion with her husband, in order to save Peggy Douglas from an unhappy marriage. For Lisa has convinced herself it is Kit Meade who is responsible, and Lisa feels she has a right to take the happiness within her reach. Now for our story. This afternoon in Lily Devon's apartment, cluttered by the confusion of Lily's preparations to leave Chicago for Wakefield, Dell Shipley sits quietly removed, watching Lily and Lisa. While Lily busies herself with packing an assortment of hat boxes and suitcases, Lisa is perched on the corner of the couch, her face a mask of her inward struggle. But Dell is undeceived as she studies the young dancer.
Lisa appears quite calm, but I know her too well. She's worried. Knowing that Lily is leaving for Wakefield must make her think of Peggy Douglas and Bill Meade. How her baby she gave to Kit Calvert is keeping them apart. Lisa knows it's her responsibility, that she should confess the whole story. Of course, I know it's difficult for her, now that she's been reconciled with her husband, Lance. She's afraid to tell him, but she must. It's the only way. She knows I can't do anything, since I promised her I wouldn't reveal her secret.
But Lily, unaware of Lisa's inner conflict, is concerned only with the problem at hand.
Well, now that I got everything out in the middle of the floor, I'm so mixed up I don't know what to do next.
I kind of figured you'd reach that point sooner or later, Lily, the way you've been going at it.
Well, Dell, this is the way I always pack. I figure I'll bring out everything I'm going to take, and then pack it all away nice and orderly. Trouble is, by that time, I'm usually so tired of the whole business, I just toss them all in any old way.
I wish I could help you, Lily, but I'm afraid I just get in the way.
Oh, that's all right, Lisa. I got into this, and I'll get out of it. Somehow.
What train are you taking, Lily?
The 8:30.
Oh, well, then you'll have plenty of time.
Sure, I'll manage. I always do, finally.
Did you wire Aunt Mary that you were arriving today?
Oh, say, I forgot to tell you. I talked to her on the phone this morning. She said to say hello to you and to Lisa.
Oh, that was nice of her.
What else did Mary have to say?
Oh, nothing special. She mentioned something about having Randy meet me at the train if he's not too busy.
It'll be much better for you if he does. That one tired old taxi never seems to be around when you need it.
Yeah. Oh, well, if he doesn't turn up, I can always check my stuff and walk to the hotel. Lisa, I hate to leave the place in a mess for you to clean up, but, well, it'll give you something to remember me by.
Oh, I don't mind a bit. It'll give me something to do so I won't be so lonesome.
Stinker. Trying to make me feel like a heel for running out on you.
Oh, no, I didn't mean it that way.
Well, I'm not going to worry about it, because I got a hunch you won't be lonesome very long.
Why? What makes you say that?
Oh, it's a hunch, baby. A certain fellow by the name of Lance Fenner has the sense he was born with. He won't stand around and let you pine away.
By the way, Lisa, speaking of Lance, have you come to a definite decision?
Not exactly, Dell. I mean...
I think you know how concerned I am, but I'm sure you're going to do what's best.
Yes, Dell. Of course. I only wish...
Oh, don't worry about it, Dell. Lisa may sound as if she isn't sure, but I can tell. She'll wind up by going back to Lance.
You think so, Lily?
Well, sure, what else? She loves him, he loves her.
Sounds pretty simple the way you say it, Lily.
Of course it's simple. Why should two people make themselves unhappy for no reason?
Yeah, for no reason. Well, Lisa?
But, Lily, well, it isn't all settled, you know.
Never mind, it will be soon. I feel it in my bones. Dale, why don't you come down in a week or two? You can kill two birds with one stone. See how I'm getting along, and then Peggy's wedding.
Peggy's wedding. Well, Lily, we'll see.
Wish you wouldn't feel so blue about it, Dell.
Do I sound blue?
Yeah. And I don't think it's anything to worry about. Peggy's doing what she wants to. Nicholas Dorn's an okay guy. You like him, don't you, Lisa?
Why, yes, Lily. He seems to be very nice.
Sure he is. Oh, I know how Dell feels. He's worried about Peggy and Bill. Oh, and yet the kid was pretty much sold on Bill before he and Kit Calvert got married. But Dell, everybody doesn't carry a torch for some guy forever. And with the way Bill feels about this kid of his, looks to me like Peggy's doing a very smart thing.
Smart?
Sure. She and Nicholas click, they can have a nice life together. They won't have to forget a lot of stuff that happened in the past.
You mean because Bill's baby would always remind her of Kit?
Why, sure. Of course, it's too bad Bill and Kit ever had the baby. Oh, I know that sounds like an awful thing to say. But if it wasn't for the baby, Bill and Peggy would have had a chance. As it is...
Yes. As it is. Lisa, how would you feel in Peggy's place?
I don't know, Dell.
Well, Dell, I think I know the way Lisa feels. She doesn't know Peggy as well as we do, or Kit either, for that matter. She doesn't know how miserable that gal made Peggy, how cruel she is. Besides, Lisa's got a terrific maternal streak in her. Why, in Peggy's spot, she'd be more interested in the baby than anything else. Wait till she gets one of her own. Wow, Lisa'll go complete.
I think I'll go to my room if you don't mind. Excuse me, please.
Did I say something wrong?
No, Lily. I don't think you did.
But the way she dashed out of here, I don't get it. She's the funniest little babe. Everything goes along just fine, and then all of a sudden...
Don't worry about it.
I do, though. Maybe I ought to go see what's eating her.
No, Lily. I'll go in and talk to Lisa. You go ahead with your packing. Well, Lisa, it got you, didn't it?
Oh, Dell.
All that talk about Peggy, about the baby. You couldn't take it.
No, I couldn't stand it any longer. I feel so dreadful. I don't want to hurt Peggy, Dell. Really, I don't.
But you are hurting her, whether she knows it or not.
But it's not my doing. You know that. It's Kit who's responsible. I can't help it.
Don't tell me you can't help it, Lisa. There's something you could do to change everything. The only right thing to do.
But Kit took my baby away from me. The baby's hers now. There's nothing more I can do.
Lisa, you can't go back to Lance knowing that someone else is going to suffer because of something you've done. Knowing that Peggy's going to marry a man she doesn't love. You've got to go down there to Wakefield and tell the truth.
But it's not a choice between me and Peggy. It's so complicated. I was responsible for Kit's losing her own baby. I made a bargain with her. I can't go back on it.
Now, look, Lisa. What's more important? A bargain you made with Kit? A woman who causes nothing but grief to everyone? Or the life of a young girl like Peggy?
Of course, Peggy should be happy. I want her to be, Dell, but I have a right to happiness, too. Maybe she would be happy with Nicholas. You can't be sure.
I'm absolutely sure Peggy's in love with Bill. There's no doubt about it. And I talked to him. I know how he feels, too. There's only one reason in the together since Bill got his divorce. And that reason's your baby.
It's strange. I had to choose once before whether to give up the baby or to try to make a life of my own. And I did make my choice. Now if I claimed the baby, confessed, I'd lose Lance.
That's a chance you have to take, Lisa. In the first place, Lance is the baby's father. He deserves to know the truth. Now, what kind of a life could you have with him, Lisa? Living a lie, deceiving him.
But I thought we could forget the past, start all over.
Lisa, you can't do that. Never in this world. Believe me. It wouldn't work. And you know that deep down in your own heart. I think you want to do the right thing. To go down to Wakefield with Lily and make a clean breast of it. Now look at me, hon. That's what you want to do, isn't it?
And yet, though you speak with so much confidence, Dell, hoping you can convince Lisa Fenner of the right thing to do, you're not really sure that she will. For as the young woman dries her tears, composes herself somewhat, you know that she is still struggling with her conscience, still hoping to evade her responsibility, hoping she can find happiness for herself in spite of what has happened. Yes, Dell. No wonder you wait so tensely for Lisa's answer.